Hi everybody, this is Dr. Beth Ann, intuitive psychologist and writer, and welcome to April's edition of Your Heart Magic. If you are just joining us through YouTube, I do a monthly soul care letter that comes straight to your inbox on the first Thursday of every month. The link to my website is in the video write-up, and if you like what I have to say, you're welcome to join us there and get the full deal. But this month I chose self-belief as the theme for April because it's so hard for us. Because believing in ourselves and believing in our ability to achieve the dreams that we have in our heart, to envision them, to live them out, to manifest them in this world, believing in our right to be ourselves and to actualize ourselves, that is something that is difficult, and we often don't realize how many limiting beliefs we have, how many internalized messages that we might have that say I can't, or that make a case for self-doubt, or that give us ammunition to argue against ourselves and to argue in favor of our limitations. And when you really start to deconstruct and look into, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about my ability to create the life that I desire? What do I believe about my right to be myself in this world and to actualize who I'm created to be? If we really start getting into the garden of that, and we start like digging into the soil to see, what have we planted our flowers in? What have we planted our plants in? What is our tree growing in? A lot of times what we find is a lot of things in the taproot of our foundation, where we have internalized messages that say that we're not allowed to somehow be our biggest, brightest self in this world. And that's why I chose self-belief. I believe that self-belief, I'm sure you guys can, my hair is not covering my microphone there. I believe that self-belief really transcends just believing in our ability to accomplish things and in believing in our own capabilities. That's a really important part of it. You know, actually, that's a huge part of self-belief. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your ability to achieve your dreams and to actualize them, how are you going to achieve your dreams and actualize them? You're going to run into a roadblock every time. But I think that a fuller, richer scope of self-belief really goes to looking at the core of, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about my right to, I said self-actualize, but I'm going to say self-actualize and soul-actualize and really grow into the person that I was created to be. You know, what do I believe about my right to take up space in this world, and my right to shine and to feel and to be human and to explore every aspect of self? To me, that is like the whole spectrum of what self-belief is about. You know, I think that piece where we believe in our ability to manifest our dreams and we believe in our own vision of self is really vitally important. But I think what's underneath that is this idea that we're not going to be able to believe in our ability to be our biggest, brightest self if we don't believe we have the right to be our biggest, brightest self. Whatever that looks like, you know, whatever that looks like. Being our biggest, brightest self isn't necessarily about going through this lifetime achieving all sorts of things. For some people it is. For some people, they have really specific visions of bucket list and things they want to do and things they want to accomplish. Other people might have a vision of that being their biggest, brightest self means creating a life of space and maybe beauty and time in nature and quiet time and solitude. You know, maybe somebody being their biggest, brightest self is about being the most authentic version of them that they can be. And so maybe they approach that with every single day. They do a check-in and say, where am I at today? What am I feeling? How can I embody my highest truth today? If I'm having a bad day, can I just give myself then permission to have a bad day, because that's being authentic? And if I'm in a good mood, can I embrace that and really hug and pull that into me and let myself be in that space? There are so many ways that we can be our biggest, brightest self in this world. It's not about doing, it's really about being. I didn't say do your biggest, brightest self. I said being our biggest, brightest self. And the way that we get to being our most rich, most juicy, most delicious, most nuanced version of self is by giving ourselves permission to explore the self, giving ourselves permission to explore all aspects of self, all shades of self, all parts of ourself, knowing that all of them have something to teach us, that all of them hold value, that some of them might be long detours that we take, some of them might be alleyways that hook back up to some bigger part of ourself. Some of them might be quantum leaps that we fall into, and they take us to a whole unrealized version of self. But that's really what I think is at the bottom of self-belief, is believing in our right to do that. Because when we start to see all parts of ourself as valuable, and we start to see that they all have something to teach us, they all have something to say, and we start to believe in that, what it does is it removes this judgment that we often attach to being human that says we're not doing it right, or we're not allowed to feel a certain way, or we're not allowed to be a certain way. And when we impose that kind of limitation on ourselves, that's the opposite of self-belief. That is a self-limitation. If self-belief is really buying into your vision of you and believing in that vision, then when we tell ourselves, I'm bad because of this, I'm wrong because of this, it's not okay to feel this way, it's not okay to fill in the blank with whatever criticism or judgment is there. The moment we do that, the moment we turn our back on a shade of our soul, we turn our back on a color in our vast range of palette, which has thousands and thousands of hues. And when we really start to embrace our right to get to know all of our hues, if we're having a sunshine yellow day, to be sunshine yellow, if we're having a gray day, to be gray, if we're having a day where we're all the colors, to say, oh my gosh, I'm all the colors today. When we start to do that, we are believing in our right to be all of those things, to feel all of those things, to be, fast, and to really embrace the universe inside of ourselves. And I think it makes it much easier to manifest our dreams from that space, because we know all parts of ourself have value. And so we know that our dreams have value. The visions that we've been given of what we want to create and who we want to be in this world, we don't put it down. We know it has value. When we're engaged in a self-accepting, self-loving, self-compassionate, self-empathizing relationship with ourselves, self-belief becomes much more easy, because it's automatically something that we gravitate to. It's automatically a way of being, a way of believing, because we are embracing the full self. So that's really my take-home message for April's Your Heart Magic, is the idea that self-belief really transcends this idea of I believe in my ability to chase and manifest my dreams. That's great. That is important. But underneath all of that, at the soil of that, at the bottom of what's in our garden, I think it has to be this really healthy soil that says, I just believe in myself, believe in my right to be myself. I believe if pink hairs in my heart that I'm gonna do pink hair. If writing poetry about social justice is in my heart, I'm gonna write that poetry. If skipping in the grocery store parking lot is in my heart, I'm gonna skip, and I don't care if anybody stares, because I'm wanting to skip today. If my heart is telling me to to travel, to grow, to expand, to stretch, to move, to transition, to embrace the mess, to make big scary life change, to hibernate for a while, to be in a winter season. Whatever hue is coming up in your heart palette, when our heart is telling us to do that and we embrace it, that creates a healthy soil, and it allows us to more organically tap into like this endless stream of motivation to say, well, I just believe in myself. I believe in wherever I'm at in life right now. And when we start to have a wish or a desire or a dream, we're able to reach for it that much easily because we're standing on this really solid ground. We're standing on really stable ground that allows us to like jump up really high and grab it and say, okay, you know, I'm going for it. I'm growing beyond where I'm at. That's what creates a healthy bedrock, is belief in your right to be yourself. That to me is self-belief. That's what's at the core of it. And I think everything else stems from there. So with that, I try and keep these right around 10 minutes. I'm at 10:50 right now. I'm going to wrap up and say thank you so much for joining me. And I will see everybody in May for May's edition of Your Heart Magic. Aloha.